I said Ravish Kumar basically is the Sunny Deol from Jeet. Jeet film ke Sunny Deol hai. And Karishma Kapoor is all the institutions, the media, the Supreme Court, all these things. अगर तुम मेरी नहीं हो सकती तो मैं तुमको किसी की नहीं होने दूंगा. मैं लाशें बिछा दूंगा, लाशें basically. So that is why this guy is on YouTube and saying कि भाई democracy election से नहीं बचेगी, डेमोक्रेसी मीडिया से नहीं बचेगी. डेमोक्रेसी कैसे बचेगी? शाहीन बाग जैसे प्रोटेस्ट से. डेमोक्रेसी बचेगी फार्मर प्रोटेस्ट जैसे प्रोटेस्ट से. And so basically insurrectionist movements that will tear down the Indian state so that we can once again gain power, because हमको politically जो democratic method है उससे हमको power नहीं आ रहा है anymore. तो या तो violently tearing down the Indian state and reclaiming power is the best way to save democracy according to Ravish Kumar ji.
नमस्ते, स्वागत है आपका इंडिया दिस वीक के नए एपिसोड में और मैं हूं आपकी होस्ट आमना अंसारी खालिद बेग के साथ.
Hi, this is Khalid Beg and welcome to yet another episode of India This Week, and we are thrilled to be joined yet again by the CEO of Secularism, Badshah of Secularism, Sham Sharma, one and only Sham Sharma.
Welcome, Sham.
Thanks, guys. It's great to be back as usual. Big fan of your show, so I'm always happy whenever I'm invited back.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sham. As always, you're very humble with your 10 lakh subscribers and 17,000 subscribers, and you like our show. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, Sham, sad day for the left wing in India, Ravish ki Duniya, and it's no longer there on NDTV.
Yeah.
And so we thought, it would be ideal to get someone, if one may say you're on the right wing and right of center, to get someone cool like you, who does converse with people across the spectrum, and not have like this view of where, we are just constantly just bitching about Ravish and, and try to be objective. And there was this WhatsApp by, I guess, some sections of right wing, which showed that he had, some 100 crore ka valuation, which obviously was by some of those right wing uncles, and it was fake, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So
shocking. Something on WhatsApp is fake. What a shock.
Exactly. And but what are your first what's your first reaction to Ravish leaving NDTV and now starting his own YouTube channel and giving you competition now?
Well, it's less competition for me and more competition for his own chelas on YouTube. अब अगर रवीश कुमार जी YouTube पर आके black holes और flying cars explain करेंगे तो उन्हीं के चेले के पेट पे लात पड़ जाएगी. So I'll be fine. It's his proteges that maybe should be more worried. But in terms of first response to him quitting NDTV, well, I honestly believe that Ravish Kumar should be taught as a case study in like marketing schools, in India, across India, because he is a person who has somehow been able, who despite being one of the most biased people in media, who despite being one of the most politically partisan people in media, has been able to cultivate an image in India among a very large section of people in India as being one of the most objective and unbiased journalists, probably the only objective and unbiased journalist in Indian journalism. And I think that is a really, really good marketing campaign that Ravish and his followers have essentially run for him. So first of all, kudos to him, and he should really be studied, and people should maybe learn कि भाई अपना bias होने के साथ के बावजूद आप किस तरह से अपने आप को unbiased दिखा सकते हो, पूरी दुनिया को. So that's the first thing. Second thing, Ravish has been able to basically have his cake and eat it too, because he has quit NDTV by saying कि मैं तो खुददार हूं. I don't know if you guys watched the video that he put out on his YouTube channel, but he basically said कि I've left because of my integrity, and media में भस्म युग आ गया है मोदी की वजह से, and बाकी मैं सिर्फ objective media हूं, बाकी सारी का सारी media गोदी media है. These are actual things he said in his video. And so on the one hand, he's been able to say all that, quit NDTV by pretending like, this is about his integrity and all of that stuff. And at the same time, he's opened his YouTube channel. So I honestly think that he might be able to make more money on YouTube by running like a Patreon or a Substack or something like that than actually what NDTV paid him. Because the TV model is completely shit. It doesn't pay you that much money. It is dying. And unless you're like an Arnab, who's just a basically force of nature, you can't be a very successful or make a lot of money on the TV platform. So going to digital platform is probably the right move for him. So either he can do that, or he can go join another TV network and just get a much more significant pay bump. Because we all know, हमने किसी ने भी नौकरियां की हैं, हमको पता है कि आप एक कंपनी छोड़ के दूसरी कंपनी जब ज्वाइन करते हो, तो you get a much bigger pay bump than you would if you just got promoted within your own company. So generally you get a bigger pay bump. So this is an example of him eating his cake and having his cake and eating it too, which is funny because इसने मैंने खुदारी की वजह से एनडीटीवी छोड़ा है एंड अंबानी ये अडानी का इन्वेस्टमेंट मैं देख नहीं सकता इस तरह का सैफ्रनाइजेशन ऑफ मीडिया में देख नहीं सकता which is funny because he did not leave the company when Ambani owned 30% of NDTV. Adani basically bought Ambani's share in NDTV. तब नहीं छोड़ा था सर जी ने, अभी जाके छोड़ा, अभी इनकी खुदारी जागी है इतने सालों के बाद.
That's because Ambani is honest. The sheer suddenness.
Suddenness हो गई है. So it is a master stroke in marketing is what Ravish Kumar has been able to achieve throughout his career. So kudos to him.
Ambani खरीद सका, लेकिन Adani नहीं खरीदेगा.
Adani नहीं खरीद पाएगा भाई.
This is interesting to watch that someone from the left ideology has such a great capitalist mindset,
और क्या?
तो
भाई जिंदगी भर पूंजीवाद को गाली देंगे, उसके बाद पूंजीवाद से ही पैसा कमाएंगे.
Exactly. So आप हो leftist, but आपको आता है कि कैसे बेचना है अपनी leftist ideology को.
Yes.
So this is something very great to learn about them. And even I have seen like a lot of leftist people, like in JNU. So I know like in JNU में जब Nescafe का वो खुला था, एक कैफे खुला था, उन्होंने प्रोटेस्ट करके वो बंद करवा दिया कि कैपिटलिज्म है. And some of those people used to bring their clothes from US. That rich they were wearing the brands and all. And वो जाकर protest कर रहे थे.
There was this person who was like giving an interview, some lady, I think she was giving an interview in front of the media. She was holding her phone in her hand, and it was an iPhone. iPhone हाथ में पकड़ के ऐसे ऐसे हिला के मैडम बोल रही हैं कि भाई कैपिटलिज्म हाय कैपिटलिज्म भाड़ में जाओ, और ये हाथ में आईफोन पकड़ा हुआ है. मतलब the level of self awareness was just magical in that moment.
Exactly, yeah. So the same thing is happening right now for the Ravish Kumar.
There was a FB post by Mamata Banerjee today where she was actually taking pride in the fact that how she saved Singur from Tata. And that's the first post I've ever seen where a person's proudly telling her constituency कि देखो मैंने लाखों jobs और इतनी उन्नति कैसे बचा दी. So क्या ही बोले. Right, so now that we are on Ravish ki Duniya, we've got some clips of his. We would like to see them. There are 5 to 6 clips of them. Let's go for video 1, if we could have that.
Yeah.
आफ्ताब अमीन पूनावाला का कोई एक चेहरा नहीं हो सकता. बहुत सारे आफ्ताब अमीन पूनावाला बाप, भाई, दोस्त, प्रेमी, पति बनकर लड़कियों की हत्या कर रहे हैं. इसे धर्म के एंगल से मत देखिए. आरोपी संजीव, रवि, लवकुश और राजकुमार 4 लोग आए और पीड़िता को दबोच लिया. उसे बोलने का मौका ही नहीं मिला ताकि आवाज सुनकर पास में घास काट रही मां मदद के लिए आ सकती. घटना का डिटेल ना तो पढ़ा जा रहा है ना बताया जा रहा है. सवर्ण जाति के इन 4 लोगों के दिमाग में ऐसा करते समय क्या गुजरा होगा, यह जानना जरूरी है. क्या जाति के कारण उन्हें यह अहंकार मिला कि किसी के साथ कुछ भी कर सकते हैं, या पुरुष होने.
So Sham, I think you're the ideal person, and this is a curious question I've had curiosity for the last few years now. Now, see, we've spoken about this ad nauseum in a lot of our YouTube appearances across channels, and maybe we've also spoken on your channel, that now that this awakening that is happening in India is happening on multiple levels, right? Like since 90s, if you would read the Indian Express, Times of India, Asian Age and other newspapers, and many of them are still left bastions like the Hindu and the Indian Express. What we are seeing, what Ravish is indulging here is what they indulge even now for the last at least for the 3 decades I know, that whenever there's an incident of a Hindu is the oppressor, he's the guy committing the crime, and a Muslim is the victim, they highlight those identities. And whether it is about a theft, whether it is about a fight over a girlfriend, they'll make it about religion. Okay, yeah. Hindutva and all that, right? And when it's the reverse, when it's a Muslim who's actually doing it out of his religious motivations, and then they will take out the names and not use them, right? Now, we've seen that with what Ravish is doing, which is a legacy of the communist controlled media, what they've done. But I have 2 questions for you, Sham. One is that ultimately Ravish is also a product of this very system of what we were also till 90s, till we decided to jump ship, jump the ship and be bhagodas as per the left wings and Islamists. And, just run with the gravy train because, BJP is in power and apparently all of us get paid by them. So one is that.
I know all of us get paid. That is why we're doing this interview over Zoom and not in a lavish studio. Yeah. All that.
This your suddenness and kyunki hum bikao nahi. So,
exactly.
Now the thing is, are you willing, Sham, to look at him as a leading right of the center influencer, that he is ultimately a product of that very system and hence he never got off it? But second, what is it about the Hindu psyche, which is not found in Abrahamics, wherein they are ready to go against their very identity if it helps them to fight their own ideological opponent and team up with the Abrahamic, whereas the Abrahamic will never do such a thing where he will highlight, if they do, then there are Abrahamics like us who are not considered Abrahamics. So I want you to answer these 2 questions. Do you give Ravish that benefit of doubt that ultimately he is the product of that system?
Yeah, he is. That's clear as day. This is a person that grew up idolizing probably, the major leading left-wing lights of the Indian independence movement and then all the socialist movements of the last 50, 60 years. So I'm not doubting that his ideology is fake, that he's running some kind of scam by fooling all these people. He can be a hypocrite, but also believe in all the points that he's making in support of his sort of left-wing ideology. That part is true. I think the part about why are Hindus more likely to maybe sell out, quote unquote, their people than
not sell out, but like team up with the worst of the Abrahamic to go against his fellow faith member. But the worst of the Abrahamic will always team up with his Abrahamic to go against the.
Yeah, I think that's because of 2 reasons. The first reason, obviously, is that Hindus in general are not taught, and you can probably answer this question, better than I can, but Hindus aren't really taught that, bhai, your culture and your religion is above everything else. That is the number one most important thing. This is not what 90% of Hindus are taught ever, really. They're taught कि ठीक है, आपका cultural है, ये आपको पूजा करनी है, आपको ये दिवाली मनानी है, होली मनानी है. All those things are there. That's not the main thing that is taught to you. The main thing is obviously naukri karo, padhai karo, ye karo, wo karo, and all that. But for many Muslims and particularly Islamists, I believe that they are taught from the very get-go in their madrasas or by their families, look, your culture, your Muslim identity and your religion, that is paramount. That is number one. Everything else comes afterwards. पहले ये सब को ध्यान में रखो, पहले इन सब चीजों को protect करके रखो, बाकी चीजें बाद में आती रहेंगी. So I think for the 2 religious groups, it is basically reversed. कि उनका धर्म और उनका रिलीजन किस तरह से प्रायोरिटाइज किया जाता है उनकी फैमिलीज में, वो बेसिकली रिवर्स्ड हो चुका है. पहला तो वो रीजन है, आई बिलीव. सेकंड रीजन इज कि मच लाइक द Muslim community or the Christian community, the Hindu community goes to the same schools that these communities are going to. And हमारी स्कूल की एजुकेशन अगर देखोगे, हमारा political landscape अगर देखोगे, barring the last 8 years, there has been a long and dark and unfortunate history of teaching, basically Hindu hatred in our textbooks, in our political scenarios as well. हमको सिखाया जाता है कि Hindus ने मुसलमानों को ऐसे दबा कर रखा हुआ है, Christians को ऐसे दबा कर रखा हुआ है, दूसरे religious groups को ऐसे दबा कर रखा हुआ है, इनका caste system इतना खराब है, इनकी religious beliefs इतनी खराब है, इतनी backward है. तो सारा फोकस हमारे एजुकेशन का, पॉलिटिक्स का, हिंदू सोसाइटी की प्रॉब्लम्स के ऊपर रहा है। तो अगर आप कॉलेज, कोई भी इंसान है जो इंडिया में बड़े हुए हैं, इंडियन यूनिवर्सिटीज, इंडियन स्कूल्स में पढ़े हैं, इंडियन पॉलिटिक्स को फॉलो किया है, तो आपके दिमाग में भी यही सारे आइडियाज जाएंगे। So I think those are the two main reasons. Okay, there's been a very deep undercurrent of anti-Hindu hatred in India, politically and educational system में भी हमारे, और दूसरा कि हिंदूज को जनरली ये नहीं सिखाया जाता कि आपका धर्म सर्वोपरि, everything else comes afterwards.
All right. Fine. Let's go for another video of Ravish. Amna, if you could play that.
कहीं हम जरूरत से ज्यादा, यह भी एक महत्वपूर्ण बात है, दुखी या रोंदू तो नहीं हो रहे हैं अर्थव्यवस्था को लेकर, क्योंकि दुनिया की जो तमाम अर्थव्यवस्थाएं हैं वो बहुत कम है। दुनिया में बहुत कम देश हैं जो 5% के रफ्तार से भी बढ़ रहे हैं। भारत की अर्थव्यवस्था अच्छी स्थिति में नहीं है। इसे छिपाने की तमाम कोशिशों के बीच जीडीपी के आंकड़े ने जख्म को बाहर ला दिया। 5% की जीडीपी इस बात की पुष्टि करती है कि भारत की अर्थव्यवस्था मंदी की चपेट में आ चुकी है। तो बहुत मुश्किल होता है कि अपने वैल्यूज को संभाल कर रखना और उसमें विश्वास रखना।
Amna, I want to ask you first. UPA 2 में 5% GDP. He's a little softer. He wants to be rightly objective about it. The same thing under Modi, especially considering the crisis we've gone one after the other, COVID and then the Ukraine-Russia war. It's, as a journalist, he should not allow his ideological leaning to come in the way, right? Which is pretty apparent here. What do you see? How kaise dekhte ho aap?
As a journalist, he should not, but you know the reality of it also. So basically, but the one thing I will mention here, that he is good with his craft, the way he speaks, the way he presents the idea, and sometimes he is very creative with it. So you have to give it that to him, because even in left side or whatever side he is on, वहां पर भी बहुत सारे लोग हैं जो अपनी वॉइसेस उठा रहे हैं, बट उनमें जिनके पास वो एबिलिटी है वही अपने आप को आगे ले जा पाते हैं। तो he has that thing. Also, when I see him, I don't see him as being very hypocrite or something. Basically, ये उसका जो idea है ये बचपन से आया हुआ है. That's how he has been growing up. तो वो ideas को वो अपने honesty के साथ present करता है. And he does hate Modi government and this regime for certain reason, because this is, in his view, exactly anti humanity or something. For him, the humanity is only about criticizing Hindus, correcting them, and seeing all the other communities as this victim जिसको उसको save करना है. That is humanity for him basically. And when these governments come, look, I am not saying कि everything is like rose bed के जैसे सब कुछ बहुत अच्छा है. No, we have some problems in India. We are working on it. But show me one policies of a state which is anti-women, which is anti-minority, or which is where you can point out कि हाँ ये problem है, ये systematic discrimination है. नहीं है. You cannot point it out. So, but उसका जो आइडिया है उसके हिसाब से ये गवर्नमेंट का आना स्टेट में, बस इसका मतलब हो गया कि हमारी ह्यूमैनिटी खत्म हो गई. सो अब वो किसी और नजरिए से देख ही नहीं सकता, चाहे वो पॉलिसी की बात हो, चाहे वो इसकी बात हो, हमारे जो ग्रोथ की बात हो रही है. बिकॉज लाइक राइट नाउ आई एम इन इंग्लैंड and a lot of people have told me this, oh, India is doing great. Some people even told me that you guys are going the way China was some time in the past. We used to think about China, they are doing great. For now, we have this thing, same understanding of India. Like India is going through the same phase, and you will be rising like them. So things has been changing even in the foreign land regarding your country, the way you have been viewed earlier. But they won't see it, they won't be objective, because for them the humanity khatam ho gayi, aur hame inko se bardasht karna hai. So that's it.
Sham, is then journalism boiled down worldwide, especially if you take Ravish as the symbolism of that, where it's a performance art now?
It is. That's how. Yeah, it is. And I'll come to that in a second as well. But I do agree mostly with what Amna said, even though I think Amna is being very charitable and good for her. But I think slightly differently about Ravish Kumar. I do believe that he has his convictions, and I don't think he's lying about his convictions. But I do think that, you know, Ravish Kumar, if you remember that that video that the late Rohit Sardana had published, I think it was part of one of the Q&As he was doing, and somebody asked him ki bhai Ravish Kumar is feeling very angry or upset in Indian democracy after the 2019 elections. What do you think? Do you share his disappointment? He said ki bhai he's disappointed because today he's not getting a call from Ghulam Nabi Azad ki bhai kisko chahiye, isko minister nahi banana chahiye. You know, he's not getting that call anymore. He used to get that call in 2009 कि भाई रवीश इन मिनिस्टर को जरा फोन करके पूछ दो कि आप रेडी हैं ये मिनिस्ट्री लेने के लिए, वो मिनिस्ट्री लेने के लिए. He was very close to the center of power under the UPA regime. So at that point, you know, रवीश कुमार जी बोलते हैं कि सब गोदी मीडिया हो गए हैं, सारे इंस्टीट्यूशंस पर कब्जा हो गया है, जर्नलिज्म खतरे में आ गया है, भस्म युग आ गया है. He didn't have any problems with capture of institutions. He did not have any problems with Bhasma Yug. He did not have any problems with Godi media in 2012. ये सारी problems इनको 2019, 2014 onwards basically दिखनी शुरू हुई हैं, क्योंकि Ravish Kumar, and I said this point in a video that I made on Ravish as well. I said Ravish Kumar basically is the Sunny Deol from Jeet film ke Sunny Deol, and Karishma Kapoor is all the institutions, the media, the Supreme Court, all these things. अगर तुम मेरी नहीं हो सकती तो मैं तुमको किसी की नहीं होने दूंगा, मैं लाशें बिछा दूंगा, लाशें basically. So that is why this guy is on YouTube and saying कि भाई democracy election से नहीं बचेगी, डेमोक्रेसी मीडिया से नहीं बचेगी. डेमोक्रेसी कैसे बचेगी? शाहीन बाग जैसे प्रोटेस्ट से. डेमोक्रेसी बचेगी फार्मर प्रोटेस्ट जैसे प्रोटेस्ट से. And so basically insurrectionist movements that will tear down the Indian state so that we can once again gain power, because हमको politically जो democratic method है उससे हमको power नहीं आ रहा anymore. तो या तो violently tearing down the Indian state and reclaiming power is the best way to save democracy according to Ravish Kumar ji. And that is why
Ravish ki nazaron mein will be civilized.
Basically then, exactly. So that is why I don't have as charitable of a view of Ravish Kumar and his ideology as Amna does, because he would rather murder Karishma Kapoor than let Karishma Kapoor get married to someone else.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid point, but I did not know that he used to get a call from people from the corridor. That
this is according to Rohit Sardana, you know, late Rohit Sardana, उन्होंने बोला था ये.
Okay. But
one person who definitely used to get call and to fix ministerial births was Barkha.
Yes, correct.
Who?
तो जब बरखा दत्त को फोन आ सकता है, तो रवीश कुमार कोई, you know, उसे वो अंडे थोड़ी है, उनको भी कॉल आना ही चाहिए.
But the thing is that they also have managed this image of always being anti-state. I mean, at the time of Congress government, they will be criticizing them as well. So वहाँ वो अपनी credibility थोड़ी बचा.
But they all got their Padma Bhushans during the UPA 2 era, from Rajdeep to Barkha to everyone.
Yeah, so the state also used to give them that space कि हाँ करो, criticize करना है तो इतना कर सकते.
It was done.
करो ऐसे कि, you know, मतलब आप तारीफ ही एक हिसाब से कह रहे हो कि मैडम जी आप क्या खाती है usually, मतलब कैसा चल रहा है.
It was done in a clever way, in the sense कि देखिए आप हम जाके बोल रहे हैं कि ये देखिए महंगाई बहुत बढ़ गई है, इधर ये महंगा हो गया, प्याज महंगे हो गए, गाजर महंगा हो गया, but you were not raising the kind of questions that you're raising today कि भाई इंडिया की डेमोक्रेसी पूरी तरह से collapse कर गई है. We did not see those questions during the UPA. सारे के सारे institutions government के कब्जे में आ गए हैं. We did not see that. फ्री स्पीच पूरी तरह से बर्बाद हो गई है, ये सवाल हमने नहीं देखा था. मीडिया पूरी तरह से बिक चुकी है, ये सवाल हमने नहीं देखा था. वी यूज्ड टू सी स्मॉलर क्वेश्चंस कि इतनी महंगाई क्यों हो रखी है, या फिर पाकिस्तान बॉर्डर पे क्या चल रहा है, या फिर यू नो दोस काइंड्स ऑफ इश्यूज. मच मोर लाइक मंडेन सॉर्ट ऑफ एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव इश्यूज वर क्रिटिसाइज्ड, नॉट दीज कि भाई यूपीए गवर्नमेंट ने क्या इंडियन डेमोक्रेसी को हमेशा हमेशा के लिए बर्बाद कर दिया है. डिड वी सी दैट क्वेश्चन फ्रॉम रवीश कुमार? Not likely.
Yeah.
But you know, I agree with Ravish when he speaks about institutions have been taken over, because back in the days, the Rashtrapati Bhavan, the house of the president, used to be used to host a party for NDTV where they used to host an event honoring the top 50 Indians. And behold, one of them used to be Ambani.
Shabash.
And, you know, And
Yeah.
Rashtrapati Bhavan, it was like Pranay Roy was like, "Yaar, I want to call the top 50 most powerful Indians. Kahan kare? Rashtrapati Bhavan, President's home. Let's do it there."
फोन लगाते हैं सोनिया जी को. Yeah, 2 minute में
But
काम
I
हो
want
जाएगा.
to thank Pranay Roy as that 25, 20, whatever I was at that time, to get those 50 Indians under one roof. Please YouTube that video. Maybe we can put up a link later.
Yeah.
Is incredible because you have Amitabh Bachchan, Sachin Tendulkar, Shah Rukh
Wow.
Khan, Ambani, you name it, like A.R.
Wow.
Rahman, all 50, and NDTV basically said to them that you guys are the 50 most influential Indians ever.
Wow.
You know?
Ever.
So yeah, absolutely. It was an incredible how they managed to pull that off, because tab democracy thi, so they could call up the billionaires and say, you know, Rashtrapati Bhavan aa jana. So ek hi baat hai, wahan aana hai ya UPA ke ghar aana.
Yeah.
You know? So
he's the pivotal force behind a global business giant, often called a visionary, now a living legend. Mukesh Ambani.
Reliance Industries is a business with a purpose, and our purpose is really to transform lives of millions of Indians. For me, richest is not at all important, because what you need for your needs is all that you need. What is important is real achievement. What is important is how can you create institutions that last beyond you. Most respected Rashtrapati Ji, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank NDTV, Pranay Roy and his team for this recognition, and to receive it from the President is a very, very special moment for me. So thank you, Pranay.
So yeah, democracy is in danger. जब राविश को वापस हमारी current president Draupadi Murmu ji बुलाएंगे, then I can believe कि थोड़ा, you know, if she gives him a YouTube interview.
Yeah, exactly. उनको तो YouTube award मिलेगा ना. Draupadi Murmu ji will hand him his, 1 million, 2 million subscriber plaque.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that was the two videos. Amna, can we have the great Ravish Kumar, the epitome of humanity, the super judge of humanity, तीसरा video.
तो 24 फरवरी को उत्तर पूर्वी दिल्ली में इस लाल टी शर्ट वाले लड़के को पिस्टल चलाने की हिम्मत नहीं होती. पुलिस की हालत यह है कि अभी तक गिरफ्तार नहीं हुआ है. पुलिस साफ कहती है कि शाहरुख है, मगर आप सोशल मीडिया में देखिए अनुराग मिश्रा बताया जा रहा है.
हेलो, मैं अनुराग मिश्रा. अभी मैंने कुछ देखा मेरे फेसबुक पर, मेरे कुछ दोस्तों ने मुझे फ़ोन किया कि किसी दंगाई के नाम पे, किसी शाहरुख औरों के नाम पे मेरा फ़ोटो लगा के कुछ लोग उसको मैं बता रहे हैं. तो बिल्कुल भी गलत और बहुत ही फेक न्यूज़ है, और मैं पूरा वादा करता हूं कि जो लोग भी इसके अंदर मिले हुए हैं मैं उनको जल्द से जल्द सजा दिलवाऊंगा, और इसकी बहुत बड़ी मैं पुलिस केस में जाऊंगा.
All right. I can, Amana, as you said, understand the ideological conviction. All right. I don't claim to be neutral. No one is. Whoever sells that is selling a lie. Okay. Now, somebody can claim that Khalid is more critical of the extreme left Islamists, and he's not that critical of the extreme right. He's occasionally critical of them, and, that's the side he's chosen. Yeah. All right. But the fact is, okay, he is choosing to side with this Muslim extremist in anti-CA riots where 50 people died, 50 innocent Indians died. He's choosing to side with Shah Rukh. Fine. Chalo bhai, Shah Rukh Pathan aapke liye victim hai, even though he's brandishing a gun. He forges the bloody identity from just what? Now that's a meltdown, right? That's now a meltdown, that you are so riled by your enemy's ideological takeover of the country slowly, then now you are ready to feel that I am so right that now everything is fair in love and war. So yeah, Sham, first you and then Amna.
Well, it's extreme ideology of any kind, whether it's on the right, whether it's on the left, is a lot like, you see those committed Islamists, and a lot of people often wonder कि यार ये इस तरह की चीजें बोल रहे हैं कि हम औरतों के साथ ये कर देंगे या non-Muslims के साथ ये कर देंगे. I mean, obviously this is for the cameras. They don't really believe it. They don't really believe कि वो 72 हूरों के पास जा रहे हैं. Or clearly they don't believe it. But people don't understand that they do. The extreme Islamists, they do believe कि हम ये जो कर रहे हैं इनके साथ ये सही कर रहे हैं. ये इनके भले के लिए कर रहे हैं. You know, when I was in New Zealand, there was one time I was approached by a very nice old lady, and she said, "Sham, you're such a nice boy. Why don't you convert to Christianity?" I said, "क्यों माता जी? क्यों? क्या हो गया? Why you don't like me?" He said, "No, you're such a nice boy. It's just I would hate for you to go to hell." She said that to me. She said, "You're such a nice boy. I don't want you to go to hell." America. So this is a lady
Yeah, I'm
that
sorry
believes.
to come in. Amana and me get that from the regular Muslims that we're feeling
Yeah,
already
there you
sad
go.
that you guys are going to hell. So,
Exactly. So this is a lady who, she was not joking with me. She was not pulling my leg. She was like completely fully serious ki beta, you're such a nice boy. I don't want you to go to hell. Just please convert. You know? So this is a lady who probably is a very nice person, you know, but genuinely believes that I believe in a demonic religion. And if I continue to believe in this demonic religion, I will go to hell and burn for eternity. So this is a normal middle class lady who has a job, who takes after her family very well, you know, and is a contributing member of society. वो इस तरह की चीज को पूरी दिल से believe करती है. तो Islamist कितने जोर से believe करते होंगे वो सोचो. दूसरी, and that's what I'm saying, that brings me to people like Ravish Kumar or even, you know, extreme right wingers in India as well. कि वो जो चीजें बोलते हैं उसमें उनका एक इतना अटका हुआ belief है, इतना strong belief है कि it's very difficult to shake, and it then informs everything that they basically think about. कि कहीं पर भी दंगा हुआ या कहीं पर भी कोई प्रॉब्लम हुई तो हमारी बिलीफ इतनी स्ट्रांग है कि हिंदूज जनरली खराब होते हैं और मुस्लिम्स यू नो दे आर द ऑप्रेस्ड पीपल ऑफ द कंट्री. तो अगर कहीं पर भी दंगा हुआ तो क्लियरली हिंदू की गलती है, क्योंकि मेरे दिमाग में वो लोग खराब काम करते हैं. मुस्लिम्स पीड़ित हैं, पीड़ित लोग खराब काम नहीं कर सकते. तो वो अपनी आइडियोलॉजी को, उसकी आइडियोलॉजी उसके दिमाग में इतनी स्ट्रांगली बैठी हुई है कि उसको समझ में ही नहीं आता कि मैं कैसे ब्लेम कर दूं मुस्लिम्स को.
Amna, your view on this video where he changes the identity of the attacker.
It shows his blind spot, like how much he's like, he just want to prove it all wrong and he will go to any extent to do that. That's what even you can see कि कितना उसको उसकी credibility पे कितना बड़ा questions mark लगेगा. He's not even caring about that before going to show this video. So yeah, I think it's, I couldn't believe that someone is doing it only from the place of very well thought, some conspiracy kind of thing. I think it comes from very heart of you, you know, like you do believe in it and you want to tell the world like yeah. It could be otherwise also. We can't claim. We just can we can just take a guess. And my guess is like it's in his heart that Hindu has, it's basically like critical race theory, that black people are always right and white people are always wrong. So that's why Hindus are always wrong and Muslims are always right. So it has to be true. It has to be true. That's it.
Also, it reminds me of the one where I was flabbergasted. I saw that live on NDTV. Don't judge me. I was still watching NDTV. I'm grown up on NDTV.
Isn't that another lesson, Khalid, about media as well? And you know, लोग बोलते हैं कि अडानी ने यार NDTV को खरीदा, किसी दूसरे like Op India क्यों नहीं खरीदा या कोई दूसरा right wing media outlet क्यों नहीं खरीदा? क्योंकि यार, you know, whatever you say about NDTV, and NDTV is an extremely biased outlet, but at the same time, NDTV पे उस तरह की चिल्ला चिल्ली जो होती है वो आप नहीं देखोगे दूसरे न्यूज चैनल्स वाली. You know, you don't see those shouty, screamy debates. तेरी माँ कर दूंगा, तेरा बहन कर दूंगा. You don't see all that on NDTV. Right. And the other thing is also कि whatever you say about NDTV, and it is a biased news channel, but despite that, whenever CNN, Washington Post, BBC, they're covering India, they will not quote Op India. They will quote NDTV. You know, so even Adani knows कि भाई हमारा दुनिया भर में operation है. And we don't want CNN, Washington Post, BBC digging too deeply into our business practices. So what we'll do is what Amazon ka jo Jeff Bezos did. We will buy a leading left-wing organization and we will make it successful and we will show to the world, देखिए, मेरे को right wing बोलते हैं लोग, लेकिन मैंने इतनी बड़ी left wing organization को, you know, खरीद के successful बना दिया. अब मेरे को कम से कम आप लोग right wing बोलना बंद करो.
Dude, that's the ultimate crossover. Modi ji के सबसे close friend and NDTV.
भाई तो ये तो 4D chess चल रहा है भैया अडानी का इधर.
Like One thing I want to add, like you guys don't understand that how left, like people are left in the left. They are very well read and very smart. You like it or not, don't like it, and they they understand the subject and how to, despite having no number, how to be very powerful within a very few number. So nowadays a lot of things are going on for the like environmental protest and sustainability, about the sustainability things, and these all this uh, this all the idea get ruled by the leftist.
Yeah.
And they can create a lot of problem for all of businessmen, all of the company, if they start giving them bad name that do affect them, in especially in country like West. So those people who are very rich, who are capitalist, they want to be in good book of them, because what they do, they have a, like, let me tell you, it was in one of lecture in my class. So they form a group of people and they buy some share of the company, and they go into the meeting of those company, and they will ask you questions ki why your carbon emission is like this high, what you are doing for the very tough questions. So even CEO of company, like, who are these people? But they have these methods. They're smart people, so they come up with these methods. So with very small number, with a very small investment, they can create that kind of chaos for the company, which company doesn't want to face. So that's why they would be far more interested to appease them instead of appeasing right winger. Also, let me be very frank, if you read Op India, I mean, if you have a common sense, you can see they are very anti-Muslims. They are biased against Muslim. Everything in their outlays is anti-Muslim, very tribalistic. They cannot have that kind of
the kind of wide reach, that
they can't have,
that they can reach both sides of the aisle.
That's not possible, and they are not very smart like NDTV. They don't use humanity as their propagating their idea. This is the humanity, and we will.
वही मैंने बोला ना कि Ravish is a case study in how to market yourself.
Yeah.
No, actually, I would say NDTV is a case study.
NDTV as well, yeah.
Yeah, because I was reading I mean, it was a quote which Elon Musk had quoted, that all news is propaganda, some more, some less, and some of right and some left, which is true to a large extent. But the fact is that how to be sophisticated, how to be civil, how to sound moderate, how to get your point across. Even if Ravish Kumar is saying, which he said, and I was referring to that show, where he said Sharjeel Imam saying that cut off, Assam from rest of India and the chicken neck, what's the big deal? But the fact is, he didn't shout it. He was not using cuss words. He was not being rude. So if you speak poison also and say, what is the big deal? It's freedom of expression. He just said it. We've had discussions like this during independence. Is this the issue? Now, a mind, the average person, the viewer, he'll be like, okay, I don't disagree with Ravish, but Ravish speaks with a lot of grace. But if you do the same thing where you're like, kuch to maryada rakhiye, and you're shouting and this, easy to kind of, not easy to pierce you in the perception game. I think that is something one should really learn from NDTV. And like I said, I mean, me growing up in Pune and who was always very passionate about news, I am a product of NDTV, and till I questioned it in 16 or 17, just 5-6 years back, right? So my entire worldview, seeing the news, Barkha, used to shape up the mind. Ravish was a later addition. Earlier, even Arnav was there for a few years. Rajdeep was there. Pranay Roy was there. So well-hosted shows. And on the right, it's only Swarajya, which is really, there is some academic substance. There is some, they touch upon varied topics. The reporters are well-spoken, at least, what they write. The English has some quality. At the end of the day, to the average consumer, all that matters. So right of center and nationalists should have more Swarajyas, and something in the league of what NDT, which I guess WION was to some extent. I don't know. I mean, see, purely speaking from a business perspective, and I hate it to break it to a lot of millennials, no media is independent. Sorry, sweetheart, it doesn't work that way. Everybody has a Lalaji who owns it, right? Jeff Bezos owns Washington Post, and then he cries. then he makes them publish because he hates Elon Musk, that Twitter, now he's taking over, so its freedom of expression is over, right? So every media channel in the world is owned by, the businessmen, except if you're in North Korea, that's owned by Kim Jong-un and then other state medias. Al Jazeera is Qatar's propaganda piece. It's not some, bunch of 100 Muslims who are fighting jihad for everybody else. So now that I've broken this tragic news to the millennials, what I wanted to say is that ultimately your product has to be nice, right? It has to appeal. So that's why Vion was appealing with Palki, and NDTV needs to get that credit, and not every employee who was working in NDTV was carrying out some communist agenda or some jihadist agenda, but the fact that they can paint a communist Islamist agenda as they standing up for humanity and twist everything up down is something you need to learn for your nationalistic side.
I mean,
right?
even if you look at the Nazis organized the Olympics in 1936 to show कि देखो हमारी economy कितनी अच्छी है, हमारी economic power कितनी अच्छी है, cultural power कितनी अच्छी है. They used to wear all those smart Hugo Boss outfits. देखो कितने smart दिखते हैं हम लोग, and it's classic image washing. And the Nazis succeeded in their image washing till 1939, till the point that they invaded Poland. Winston Churchill and all these big world leaders used to write glowing articles about Hitler. He's such a nice man and kaise transform kar diya hai usne Germany ki economy ko and all of that, until the news of the Holocaust started breaking out of Germany. And so this is what, if Hitler can do this in 1936, this is the pattern that a lot of these media organizations are following. It's classic image washing. There was a famous Roman poet, Juvenal. Juvenal wrote that as long as the Roman government can provide the public with plenty of bread and plenty of circuses, the public will ignore everything else that the government does. Yeah.
As we speak, Qatar's hosting the Football World Cup. They fund a lot of terror organizations.
Yeah. So there is one thing, but I do watch NDTV, but I do read Op India also. I do read Swaraj Maggie, because you should not think like this is untouchable, because you will find something to learn from everywhere. There are few articles I have found in Op India is good. Also, they are like very focused on all the crime Muslim does, but also it gives you, an understanding.
They end up covering some of the crimes.
Yeah,
that
at least someone is covering.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's like too much also, like calm down. Yeah, but it's good. I think readers should go and check out all the outlets and try to understand their pattern and get whatever you think rationally you find right.
Like if you see Dawn from Pakistan, again, lot of quality. Like it's not, the substance in the writing, the articles, the way they cover geopolitics, their internal strife, religious extremism, the way they tackle. Of course, at the end of the day, and rightly so, they are, they're committed towards their country, unlike our Caravans and the Wires and, the Ravish Kumars. But Dawn is a very, very good news website from Pakistan. I mean, I have been reading that for so many years. It was my introduction to satire. Nadeem Farooq Paracha, I found out in Dawn, and I used to read all his kick-ass articles in there. And now, but that's the thing. At the end of the day, whether you're left, right, but there needs to be sophistication. You need to be good at your craft. You need to, have a lot of substance. You need to cover other articles as well. Right, everything should be proper. English, aapka grammar, aapki punctuation marks. Just you can't just. That's why it's a pity that on the nationalist side, Swaraj and Vion, but then there could have been so many more.
Yeah, but it takes money also.
I mean, and I mean, Arnab, maybe someday we'll discuss his phenomena. Today, Aaj Ravish ki Duniya, so how he is the phenomena. Amna, let's now watch another video.
आज जुलाई तक जॉन हॉपकिंस यूनिवर्सिटी अमेरिका का यह रिसर्च कर रहा बा, एकरे रिसर्च के आजकल मान्यता भइल बा. ई कहता कि जुलाई तक भारत में 10 लाख वेंटिलेटर चाहिए. अब बा 50,000 ना, 17,000 ना, कोनो अखबार 50,000 लिखत रहसन, कोनो 40,000 लिखत रहसन, कोनो 70,000 लिखत रहसन. लबरइये में सारा दुकान बाजार चलता जी.
Now,
don't play that video because it makes
ideology.
Don't play that video because it makes me like him, because he's speaking in my home dialect. It makes me feel positive feelings towards him.
Now, this is not about the ideology, right? We were talking about ideology. This is someone whose bread and butter is journalism. He's apparently one of the leading journalists for his side, whether one likes it or not, but he does have a fan. This is basic journalism, right? I mean, you get a news, you cross-check it with a couple of sources, you wait a few days, and then give your view on it. A news comes like that, which has some spectacular numbers, eye-popping numbers, and you just don't wait and like that WhatsApp uncle, just forward it and you make a bloody video on it. What is now? I think this is Ravish Kumar reaching to other levels of megalomania. I mean, that's the only way I can see it, right? This is megalomania of another level now.
Yeah, I mean, his megalomania has not been in doubt for a while, and it becomes very clear when you watch that YouTube video he put out after he resigned from NDTV, where he basically, in the first minute of the video, he says कि everybody else is Godi media, only I am not Godi media. बाकी सारे के सारे लोग Godi media हैं, which is funny because he throws all of his NDTV colleagues under the bus as well. कि साले वो भी Godi media हैं, and he says कि भाई मीडिया में भस्म युग आ गया है, which means कि मेरे अलावा I am the only truth teller, मेरे अलावा सारे के सारे लोग बिके हुए हैं और खराब journalist हैं. Like, can you imagine bigger megalomania than that? Can you imagine me sitting here and saying कि भाई मैं इकलौता अच्छा यूट्यूबर हूँ, बाकी सारे राइट विंग यूट्यूबर खराब हैं, बाकी सारे लेफ्ट विंग यूट्यूबर खराब हैं? Like, imagine somebody saying that. But if this is not megalomania, what else can it be? So that has never really, it hasn't been in doubt, at least for the past few years with Ravish Kumar.
Amna, your thought on this basic journalism check not being done by Ravish?
Yeah, that's come across in a bad way. I mean, you are not able to do your basic job, so I mean, what to say? But still, you have such a high credibility.
At the same time,
doesn't make sense.
At the same time, I think these kinds of things are what created that quote unquote awakening that Khalid was talking about earlier. Like, this is what created it. And I would in fact say that Ravish Kumar ji should continue to speak like this, because the more he speaks like this, the more voters BJP recruits, and the more seats they will win in the upcoming election as well. So I wish Ravish ji nothing but success. And I wish that his YouTube channel grows. I wish that his tribe grows. I wish that he garners more and more views, so that more and more people come and join Hindutva and go vote for the BJP. So in a sense, he's inadvertently, Ravish ji is providing a very important social service.
That's a very good
way. I hope Ravish ji watches this this episode and
आप ये नहीं कह सकते कि मैं तारीफ नहीं करता रवीश जी की.
Amna, I think the last video now.
उठा के फेंक दीजिए टीवी को घर से बाहर, ना मोबाइल में देखिए ना दीवार पर चिपका के देखिए. इससे आसान डेमोक्रेसी के लिए मैं क्या मांग रहा हूं आप, कि वो टीवी जो भारत के लोकतंत्र को, अर्जित किए गए लोकतंत्र को बर्बाद करने के लिए दिन रात मेहनत कर रहा है, क्या आप उस टीवी को नहीं छोड़ सकते? मुझे चंडीगढ़ की उस लड़की का मैसेज अब भी याद है. वो प्राइम टाइम देख रही थी तो उसके पिता ने टीवी बंद कर दिया. उसने अपने पिता की बात नहीं मानी और प्राइम टाइम देखा. वो भारत के लोकतंत्र की शानदार नागरिक है.
The way he speaks, man.
That's what I'm saying. Now, this is classic megalomania. कि भाई सिर्फ मेरा ओपिनियन मैटर करता है, बाकी सारे लोग डेमोक्रेसी के लिए खराब हैं. तो we could have even clubbed this video in that same megalomania section that we were talking about.
And how
he reminds me of
how serious he was reminding me of those Maulvis who says टीवी से इतना अजाब आता है, टीवी नहीं छोड़ सकते इस्लाम के लिए.
टीवी नहीं छोड़ सकते. वही टीवी नहीं छोड़ सकते डेमोक्रेसी के लिए.
He reminded me of two species. One is some people in my extended family and second, third cousins who, are very religious and genuinely believe that, the path that they have chosen, now they've found God again, and it's their duty now to convey it every day to other cousins and basically puckify them now because they're elders, so younger cousins can't say much. And also say that you can't puckify Khalid because he will rebut. So now, and with some of them, apart from that angle, like apart from that religion, again, I have great relations. I get along, we meet up for dinners, we have our chat. But they're very convinced in their head that they now have figured it out and they're going to Jannat, and the others who they're trying to teach from a good perspective. It's never that they're, I mean, sometimes they can be pakao, but apart from pakao, nothing more. Where they're not listening, they're not ready to hear that we found the truth, and why aren't you guys? That's one. And the second is, some of my left-leaning friends who have these very rigid right-wing parents who tell them, "Dekho, matlab 500-600 years back, India was like, all shining and India shining, and then all the evils were from the outsiders. Nothing was our fault, and we were always this sone ki chidi."
Yeah, British created
And
the caste
both
system.
these
That
groups
one is
are
my
mocked.
favorite one. Yeah?
Sorry?
British created the caste system. That is my favorite
Yeah,
one.
exactly.
Yeah.
And both these, groups are mocked by their respective, community members and their families and all. But Ravish sounds exactly like this right now when he says, ki aap TV pe mat dekhiye, because, I mean, at the end of the day, TV has, I mean, it's a democracy. And, I agree with, I mean, a BJP leader was, castigated for it. Ki there is too much democracy. Yes, there is, because apparently even having news channels which propagate an anti-security forces narrative, a pro-terrorist narrative, is also comes under democracy.
Yeah.
We can have a debate someday on that. Now, how much more democracy, right? But Ravish saying this is, I mean, what does it take? I mean, there are so many left-leaning magazines which glorify terrorists. Just the other day, News Laundry ended up defending a known security agencies have, confirmed that that guy sitting in Turkey is a guy who puts out hit lists for Kashmiri civilian security forces, the Kashmiri Hindu. And so this is bizarre now. I mean, Ravish saying ki TV pe mat dekho, and then saying I felt happy she was watching Prime TV. This is the rigidity you would see in any religious extremist, any cultural extremist, any race extremist. But just that it's the gift of the gab, and he says it in such a manner that as a performance artist, you're like, wow. Ravish, you have a point.
That's exactly what it is. It's the true believer syndrome. Ki bhai, only I have the truth. Nobody else has any knowledge of the truth. And so if you're not listening to me, if you don't believe me, then you're wrong. And you're committing a crime against humanity. You're committing a crime against my one true ideology. And therefore you must be punished. ये वही basically ideology है जो तालिबान की ideology है कि भाई हमारे पास सच्चाई है, आपके पास सच्चाई नहीं है. तो या तो हम आपको जबरदस्ती सच्चाई सिखाएंगे या फिर आपको अफगानिस्तान से निकालेंगे. दो ही ऑप्शन है आपके पास. And so at least I respect the Taliban a little bit more because वो खुद तो आके गोली चलाते हैं. रवीश जी तो भाई गोलियों को गोलियों को लानत भेजते हैं, और जो लोग गोली चलाते हैं उनके सपोर्ट में आर्टिकल्स वगैरह लिखते हैं. तो it's the same belief that a Islamist fundamentalist has, a same belief that a evangelical fundamentalist has, the same belief that a Hindu fundamentalist has, who believes कि भाई इस कास्ट के लोगों को यही काम करना चाहिए और मेरा कास्ट ही सिर्फ पैसा कमा सकता है या जमीन ओन कर सकता है, दूसरे कास्ट के लोग नहीं ओन कर सकते. It's the same belief. It's the exact same belief. Left wingers बोलते हैं कि भाई हम लोग religious में इतना विश्वास नहीं करते इसलिए हम लोग ज्यादा enlightened हैं. नहीं भैया, आपके खुद का religion है. ये wokeism, leftism, it is a religion unto itself. And it is the exact carbon copy of an Abrahamic religion.
But one thing I agree with a point Amana made, that correct, wrong, of course we are on the opposite side of the ideological spectrum of what Ravish stands for most of the things. At least it comes from a space of conviction, not like Rana Ayub where she knows कि वो public का काट रही है, right? Because you're abusing the country day in and out for 20 years. There's a constituency of victimhood. There's a constituency of Islamist, communist. There's a constituency of anti-India forces. You cater to their biases, right? Then you say it's unsafe here. Then you fly business class to whatever your handlers are paying. You go attend anti-India conferences in US, UK, live the best of luxury life. You are put up in the best of suits, and you get paid so much, and you get paid to abuse India and Washington Post, create that hysteria, create that victimhood, and then go out and say how scared am I and abuse India in Turkey, England, in those conferences with those dumb sections of Firangs were like, oh my God, Rana, you're so amazing, right? More power to you. Come back to India, continue it.
Yeah.
Right. So today I was just seeing Arfa after her Miami holiday. She just did a great Miami holiday. Yeah. And now after Miami holiday, now she's in US and saying, come to US. And apparently one of the sponsors is Indian American Muslim Council, right?
Of
and
course,
one knows
of
their
course
activity,
they are.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's like, let me tell you how bad it is. And she's going to come here and say that. But at least compared to the Ranas and Arfas,
Yeah.
Ravish, whatever, doing it out of his lunacy or doing it out of his zid, then that kid ki ab Modi kaise aa gaya and all that,
Yeah.
does it from at least some honesty
Yeah.
that he believes what he
Yeah.
does, and maybe to some extent even Arfa. Rana doesn't do it from that.
Yeah.
That's
That's
why I
true.
wanted to say I don't see Rana and Arfa at the same level. I think Rana Ayub is totally fake.
Mm.
She does it entirely just calculating and what her master wants to do. But in Arfa, I have seen there are some honesty, because even her on stories like that, she was kind of victim of post Babri Mosque riots. So in childhood, she has gone through it. So sometimes your personal experiences also shapes up a lot of things for you. So and even she is sometimes ready to communicate also. It's not like it's always one-sided like Rana Ayub. But the thing is that in the end, we have to rebut them. We have to show them that how they are wrong, and the hypocrisy is there. When she is okay with a Hindu Dalit making fun of Hinduism, but then she's not okay. Nupur Sharma making fun of, not making fun, saying something which is like hurtful to you as a Muslim. So then you see also hypocrisy of her, but still she is not in the same league of Rana Ayub. I don't find that.
And amongst these, Swara is the joker. She's like acting में भी fame नहीं मिलती, इनके साथ रहती हूँ लेकिन मिलती नहीं.
जिन के लिए जाके कैंपेन करते हैं वो साले हार भी जाते हैं.
फिर भी जाती है करने.
She's like, वहां भी कुछ नहीं मिला, यहाँ भी कुछ नहीं मिला. And she's like, कुछ तो यार, मेरे को भी बोलो, मैं भी हूँ, मैं भी लड़ रही हूँ. And they must be like, हाँ, आजा बहन.
मेरे को बहुत गुस्सा आया था जब उसने लिखा था ना कि वो जो स्कूल में था कि अंदर आने से पहले ऊपर का ये निकाल दो हिजाब. So she compared it with like जो हुआ था द्रौपदी के साथ कपड़े उतारने के जैसे. What that's supposed to mean? What kind of messaging you're giving to the Muslim women? That तुम्हारा ये उतारना मतलब तुम मतलब naked हो गए. The same thing Maulvi says, bikini or burqa, right? The same. And then look at her life. Look at her presence on the screen.
That's the thing. That's the most problematic thing. I think Amna is 100% right, because that's the craziest thing. कि ये लोग बोलते हैं कि जो कर्नाटका की उडुपी की लड़कियां हैं उनको मौलवियों की बात माननी चाहिए, उनको अपने जो सॉर्ट ऑफ पेट्रियार्की है उस पेट्रियार्की बात माननी चाहिए और पूरी तरह से कवर करके रहना चाहिए, वो भी साला कर्नाटका की गर्मी में, नो लेस, stay covered in Karnataka heat. And but these go party in Miami, ये लोग न्यू ईयर चिलैक्स करेंगे, ये लोग बीच पे जाके अपना फोटो वगैरह खिंचवाएंगे. सो कर्नाटका की लड़कियों को ये सब अलाउड नहीं होना चाहिए. कर्नाटका की लड़कियां पेट्रियार्की के पैर के नीचे रहे, लेकिन मेरे को मैं घूमूंगी, मैं पार्टी करूंगी, मैं दारू पीऊंगी, मैं कपड़े पहनूंगी, जो पहनना है मेरे को जो करना है मैं करने दो. दैट इज द बिगेस्ट प्रॉब्लम थिंग आई हैव. कि ठीक है, अगर आपको कर्नाटका की लड़कियों को रोकना है तो आप भी जरा बुर्का पहन के अपना काम वाम किया करो, ये नाटक करना बंद करो.
And the other day she joined Bharat Jodo Yatra with Raga. I was like, ये किस लाइन में आ गया भाई साहब? You're in Bharat Todo Yatra.
Yeah, and that was very funny also, because it's like, so स्वरा भास्कर के मैंने बोला ना कि जहां पे भी जाती है कैंपेन करने के लिए बंदा हार जाता. तो basically she's kryptonite for a political campaign. But it's interesting because she was campaigning for Rahul Gandhi, who is himself kryptonite for himself. तो क्रिप्टोनाइट कैंसिल तो कहीं नहीं हो जाएगा, मैं वो सोच रहा था. माइनस प्लस हो जाएगा.
Getting some decent numbers, there was some buzz ki, even I felt like I was, initially I didn't make much weight of the whole thing, but somehow it had its own small impact. But then why call Swara, man? I mean, jitna bhi impact ho reduce ho jayega. And then whenever these left wing portals, it's funny. they make her the Maharani of that, noted, famed actress. Arey yaar, nobody knows. मेरे घर पे nobody knows her. My bhai, nobody knows who bloody Swara. Ask any of our parents, they'll be like, कौन स्वरा भास्कर भाई? We know Deepika Padukone, ये कौन है?
माधुरी दीक्षित समझ में आता है noted, famed यार. स्वरा भास्कर noted, famed थोड़ा ज्यादा हो गया. Yeah.
Do we have any more videos of Ravish, Amna?
नमस्कार, मैं रवीश कुमार। 1990 का वो साल था जब मेरे जैसे हजारों छात्र लाखों मजदूरों के साथ अपने राज्य बिहार से पलायन कर रहे थे, एक नए अवसर की तलाश में। उसी साल कश्मीर से लाखों की संख्या में कश्मीरी हिंदू पलायन करने के लिए मजबूर किए जा रहे थे। शरणार्थी और प्रवासी में जमीन आसमान का फर्क होता है। हम बीच बीच में अपने घरों को लौटते रहे हैं और जब भी चाहें लौट सकते हैं, हमेशा हमेशा के लिए। लेकिन जो शरणार्थी होता है उसे मालूम नहीं कि कब वो लौट सकता है, लौट भी सकता है या नहीं लौट सकता है। हमारा घर उजड़ा नहीं था, हम उजड़े हुए घरों को छोड़कर दिल्ली की तरफ नहीं निकले थे। लेकिन जो कश्मीरी हिंदू दिल्ली की तरफ निकले थे, उनका घर, उनकी गलियां, उनके मोहल्ले, उनके अपने, उनके मंदिर, उनकी तमाम यादें, सब कुछ उजाड़ दी गई थीं। एक ऐसे दौर में जब विस्थापित होना एक सामान्य, स्वाभाविक और आर्थिक प्रक्रिया है, इस दौर में कश्मीरी हिंदू और पंडितों के प्रति जो हमारी संवेदना है वो किस तरह से बनती है, किस तरह से जुड़ती है, जुड़ती भी है या नहीं जुड़ती है। जब पूरा विश्व विस्थापितों से बन रहा हो, एक नया स्वरूप ले रहा हो, वैसे में ऐसे तमाम लोग जो शरणार्थी बनकर आए हैं और जो पीछे एक तरह से एक खूनी अतीत को अपने वर्तमान के रूप में देखते रहते हैं, याद करते रहते हैं, वो कैसे अपने इस पहचान को लेकर दिल्ली शहर में या हिंदुस्तान में या फिर पूरी दुनिया में घूमते रहते होंगे। ये कार्यक्रम पूरी तरह से एक तरफा है। इसे संतुलित करने के नाम पर सरकार की तरफ से किसी को नहीं बुलाया गया है। इसे संतुलित करने के नाम पर सेकुलर मोर्चा के किसी प्रवक्ता को नहीं बुलाया गया है और इसे संतुलित करने के नाम पर किसी मानवाधिकार कार्यकर्ता को भी नहीं बुलाया गया है। इसमें सिर्फ वो लोग हैं जो विस्थापित हुए, जो कश्मीर के हिंदू हैं, जो पंडित कहे जाते हैं, जैसे हम समझते हैं। आज बोलेंगे ये लोग और सुनेंगे हम लोग। राहुल, पहला सवाल मैं आपसे ही जानना चाहता हूं कि ये दास्तान बहुत लंबी है, लेकिन ऐसे दर्शकों के लिए और खासकर मेरे जैसे लोगों के लिए भी जो बहुत कम जानते हैं कश्मीर के बारे में, कहाँ
So this is amazing. Till now we've been critical, we've had fun, but this is great journalism.
Yeah.
And kudos to him. He's
and when is this from? ये कब से है? When is this from? This video? Does anybody remember?
I don't know.
इस साल का वीडियो है ये?
I don't know, but NDTV ने कश्मीरी पंडितों का जो वीडियोस है वो पहले से कवर किया है, ये मुझे पता है, because I have been watching them. So जब हुआ था बहुत पहले, मैं छोटी थी, तो एक ही बार मैंने देखा था शो, वो NDTV पर ही था.
Okay.
So they have done कश्मीरी पंडित. ये वाला किस साल से मुझे नहीं पता.
Okay.
नहीं, I mean, kudos. This is what a journalism should do. A journalist should do, and he's covered, story of a minority who nobody wants to, own up. Nobody wants to speak about their ethnic cleansing. Now, I mean, people are getting more sensitized to it. Still, I mean, you could see, last few weeks that whole controversy in the festival where they called the movie vulgar, propaganda, crude. Well, all this is vulgar propaganda, crude by Ravish then, right? So, so he's sticking here to his journalism. And I'm not saying this because, see, out here, he's using the power of his oratory to speak about facts. He's not speaking anything where he's, saying ki A is wrong, B is wrong, C is wrong, D is correct. He's just saying this has happened to them. This is their unfortunate story. They are refugees. They can't go back. Which is interesting, right? That you can still make conversation with left and not everything is black and white. Yeah. Sham, your view on this piece of his journalism, which is really worthy of praise.
Yeah, and I think a much broader audience would respect Ravish Kumar if he did do things like these. If he was just a bit more honest about his convictions. If he was willing to show the other side of the argument as well. अगर पिछले 8 सालों में इस तरह के वीडियोस लेट्स से और कॉमनली निकाले होते रवीश कुमार ने, तो बहुत हम लोग डिसएग्री भी करते. जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल शशि थरूर इज अ गुड एग्जांपल वेयर he'll say a lot of nonsense, things that we don't agree with, but he's a guy that at least looks like he's willing to listen and change his mind. If he's presented with contravening evidence, he's willing to listen to you. And ये हमने जो हर्ष मधुसूदन के साथ उन्होंने एक दो debates भी किए हैं, and in those debates he's always shown a willingness to listen to Harsh. ये नहीं कि shout him down and say नहीं तू गलत है, shut up, you're wrong, you're spreading fascism, none of that. He will just sit there and listen to him. And I think that, I feel like that is why people are more willing to respect a leader like Shashi Tharoor than many other Congress leaders for that matter. If Ravish Kumar was willing to do a lot more of that, I think people would respect him a lot more than, now today there's a much bigger contingent of people that severely dislike him. And it's because of all the stuff that we talked about before.
Amna, your view on this particular piece of journalism?
The same thing which I was saying throughout the episode, that it doesn't sound me to that he is doing this by planning something. Basically, he believes in humanity. The thing is that what kind of definition you have for humanity, and the definition a lot of from the well-meaning people in the left side have, that's basically already twisted. So that's their problem. And you can see here, like when he sees that these people have gone through a lot of hard time, they need also wife, they did at least one episode or two for them. So it shows that he believes in humanity, but the thing is that the definition of humanity, what they believe in, should be also discussed a lot more now. And also I think India have to, churning things is going on, this all fine, but we need to make more platform where people from a very different ideological background can come to and have a discussion, even Islamist, to be very fair. Because देखो, एक बात बोलती हूँ मैं, you like it or not like it, we in a democracy, we all have a part, even Islamist do exist there. So you have to talk to them as well, so you can understand them better and define the boundaries. Tell them that you have your existence, you can believe in whatever ideology you believe in, but you cannot enforce it. And basic idea of liberalism is that, that we have to give space everyone, but at the same time we have to be very thoughtful that this liberalism exists so everyone can get the existence, if that makes sense, So वो चीज के लिए हमें एक platform बनाना पड़ेगा. Also, it's not only Ravish Kumar. When I am outside and I can see that Arfa Khanam, Zubair, these people have a lot more credibility as a neutral people, which they shouldn't enjoy. The only reason is that they are very smart with their tweets. They do not portray write their biases and bigotry against anyone in a direct form, which comes from the right. Not all the right.
Well,
right spectrum.
What I would say in response to that, Amna, just one thing is that I think कि एक advantage जो ये लोग enjoy कर रहे हैं बहुत समय से, almost 70 सालों से ये एक advantage enjoy कर रहे हैं कि इनके जो news organizations में ये लिखते हैं या बात करते हैं या जिस साइट से ये बात कर रहे हैं, वो already इंडिया के बाहर, इंडिया में भी और खासकर इंडिया के बाहर बहुत लंबे समय से established है कि यही correct narrative है इंडिया के बारे में.
So we have
these
to
are the only
speak up.
people that are speaking.
Yeah,
and that is why it's changing. अभी 8 साल ही हुए हैं. 8 साल people think कि पूरी तरह से situation change क्यों नहीं?
पूरी तरह से नहीं, लेकिन instead of
8 years is not a very long time in the grand scheme.
Instead of getting frustrated or irritating, we should be indulging more in conversation and even inviting an Islamist कि आओ भाई तुम भी बात करो. Let's speak it out. And we also make a point that no, everybody will going to exist. We don't want annihilation of anyone, but we have to have this thought, this conversation about the ideas and how very different ideas are going to stay here in India. So these things should be there, I think, and this will also help in India. And I am not very happy that Congress is like khatam ho gayi hai, because we also need more political party who can stand somewhere as a opposition. Because in the end, you want democracy. Yes, current regime is doing something very great. For few things, I do support them unconditionally. But that doesn't mean I want a political party to be more powerful rather than the political system, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So these are few things I think India need to work there as well. And I do agree with Sham that left also have like monopoly over the academia and all those stuff. So easy for them. Their narrative goes out everywhere and get accepted. It's very easy for them because their language has been there. They are the one who created that language of humanity,
Yes.
basically. So wahan unko ek upper hand milta hai, that I agree. But then we have to play in it. We have to play in. And also we also believe in humanity.
Yeah, and the other thing also is, Amna, I believe ki jo global left hai, it is a lot more homogeneous than the global right. Global left को अगर देखोगे तो जो क्रिटिकल रेस थ्योरी की लैंग्वेज यूएस में यूज होती है, वही इंग्लैंड में यूज होती है, वही न्यूजीलैंड में यूज होती है, और वही अब कास्ट का रूप देके इंडिया में एग्जैक्ट सेम लैंग्वेज यूज हो रही है, बिल्कुल एग्जैक्टली द सेम. सो देयर आर अ लॉट ऑफ लिंकेजेस, easy linkages between the global right. However, the global right is actually extremely heterogeneous in the sense कि एक American Christian evangelical does not believe in the same things that a Hindutwadi believes in, does not believe in the same things that a right-wing Pakistani Islamist believes in, you know. तो global right बहुत ही ज़्यादा fractured है, और इसलिए उनमें एक common thread बनाना is a lot more difficult than building a common thread in the global left. So I think that's another advantage that they have.
Yeah, they have. But we have to also claim all the good values. Like we also believe in liberalism. They are not ठेकेदार. We believe in humanity, but we believe on the same yardstick getting applied to everyone. These are few things like we also have to reiterate and fight for our space, principle based. And we have to work on that, I think, like, because they keep asking a very good question sometimes, and we need to have our principles sorted out so we can reply them in their language as well. We need more people who are into academy. I mean, it is open for everyone. But the problem is that when you write a research paper, you have to cite them. Without citation, it doesn't work. And how you will find someone from your ideological background to cite them? No, it's all leftist, and they are the peer reviewed one. So
but
that
like
is
I said na, abhi again 8 ही साल हुए हैं, but इस 8 साल में भी, in the last few years at least, we have seen some
very
academics emerge. Maybe academia से निकल कर नहीं आए हैं. These are people who have been very passionate culture. तो दूसरी नौकरियां छोड़ के या फिर उसके साथ they're producing academic work, you know. It doesn't matter if you agree with them or not, but people like Rajiv Malhotra, Jai Deepak, people like Makaran Paranjape, you have abhi Vikram Sampath ki jo, you know, Vikram Sampath's book on Savarkar is now the definitive work on Savarkar. You cannot discuss Savarkar without talking about Vikram Sampath's book on Savarkar. ऐसा काम उसने प्रोड्यूस किया है उस बंदे ने. अकेले उस बंदे ने नैरेटिव चेंज कर दिया. तो आई बिलीव कि इस तरह की स्कॉलरशिप और भी निकल कर आएगी. अब तो एक avalanche होने वाला है, because people are noticing that अच्छा, Jai Deepak and Vikram Sampath are not just producing work, but their books are selling, they're making money. ये financially viable भी है. तो जब financial viability आ जाती है, तब तुम देखना किस तरह से वो cascading effect शुरू होता है.
We need that more. That's all. Yes.
You know, you spoke about the privilege. I read this thread once, very interesting thread, that in NDTV, so many of the employees who went on to become star employees were already from privileged families. Like Nidhi Razdan's father, not many people know that, you know, he was handling one of the biggest founding news agencies of India, right? Srinivasan Jain's father was a big shot diplomat, right? And many others like that, right? So, of course,
it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Just like Robin DiAngelo, who's a white lady, who she writes a book, White Fragility, becomes a bestseller. So a white lady is writing a book about how white people are oppressing black people, and she is inviting other white women to her classes who are paying her hundreds of thousands of dollars for a white lady to teach other white ladies how black people are being oppressed by white people. So सारा पैसा whites के ही हाथों में जा रहा है. Whites are the ones exchanging the money. Not a single dime is going to the black people who are actually being oppressed. Similarly, आप communist parties में भी देखोगे तो सारे बड़े-बड़े communist upper caste से आते हैं. ये आके सिखा रहे हैं कि भाई upper caste बड़ा बदमाश है. हमको पैसा दो, हम तुमको सिखाएंगे कैसे upper caste बदमाशी कर रहा है. दलित के हाथ में एक भी रुपया नहीं जाना चाहिए.
Right.
It's beautiful.
All right. We'll lastly wrap up with what Sham initially started off with. Amna, you want to read that tweet? And very rare times I agree with Barkha. If you want to read Barkha's tweet.
Okay, we can show it on. Yeah, so I don't think we need.
Yeah. You can read it. It will play on. You can read it. It will play on the screen.
I'm confused when Mukesh Ambani on 30% of NDTV, it was free. And when Gautam Adani purchases that 30%, it's obituary time. Pray, how? So much politicking and humbug in the discourse, both for or against. Both narratives ignore the elephant in the room. Revenue model of TV is broken.
Yeah.
So who else but Barkha? I mean, the darling and the superstar of NDTV who ruled the influence space in the early 2000s for a decade. I mean, I think in the end, for the common man, it's a perception game. If we throw this fact 100 times also that Ambani owned 30% of it for 8 to 10 years, and Ravish was one of the employees, they will not buy it. And now they see Adani even more close, they'll come up with justifications. So I think let's end on this note that your last few words, Sham and Amna, it's a perception game, no, at the end of the day. Log jaise perceive karna chahte hain is cheez ko.
Yes, it is perception game, but just one thing, I want to right and left to talk more to each other. Let them explain what is their problem with this government in a logical and rational way. If maybe there is some problem we are not able to see. Just explain us. So we are even ready to rectify that. But tell us what is the problem, just instead of crying that there is no freedom of speech, crying that there is a dictatorship or something, which is not. So that's all I want.
Yeah.
Sham, you?
So what was your initial question, Khalid, jo tune pucha tha abhi?
What I wanted to say ki dekho yaar, if we keep throwing this fact 100 times also ki 30% to Ambani own karta tha, jo 8 saal, Ravish was there. Now that same 30% Adani is owning, theek hai. तो मतलब ऐसा तो नहीं है कि मुझे कोई खरीद नहीं सका एंड तो बट आई थिंक अल्टीमेटली परसेप्शन की बात होती है ना, जिसको अमीश देवगन न्यूट्रल लगता है इवन दो वो इतना बटरिंग कर रहा होता है गवर्नमेंट की स्पोक, मतलब कभी कभी मुझे लगता है संबित पात्रा स्पोक्सपर्सन है कि अमित एंड देन यू हैव दिस क्रांतिकारी रविश हु फील्स लाइक पता नहीं मतलब 8 साल से बिजली आई नहीं इंडिया में और पता नहीं यहाँ वर्ल्ड वॉर चल रहा है ये हालात अफगानिस्तान से भी बुरे हैं, तो परसेप्शन की बात है ना अल्टीमेटली फिर ये सारा कहीं
it is about perception, and like we talked about earlier, there are always going to be a set of true believers जिनको आप कितना भी proof दिखा दो उनका their opinion is probably not going to change. They're going to continue to believe that they are the only ones who have the monopoly on the truth and everybody else is wrong and is going to hell. But at the same time, the way you change perception is, like Amna said, one of the ways is through obviously conversing with people with different points of view. Another way to do it is by producing well thought out, smart, and well researched, accessible content that it has the potential to influence people. The kind of stuff that Vikram Sampath is doing. जैसे उसने किताब लिखी है, even people who were anti-Savarkar, if they are at least willing to be honest with themselves, will read that book and will say कि अच्छा ठीक है, जो The Wire कह रहा है वो inaccurate है. At least इतना तो कम से कम मान जाएंगे. If you're a person who's at least trying to yourself कि ठीक है, I still don't like Savarkar, but what The Wire said was wrong, or what some Congress politician said about Savarkar, at least that part was wrong. इतना change भी अगर आ जाएगा, that's a big step. That's a huge step. उसके बाद तो फिर then you can continue to have a dialogue with that person and hopefully change their mind further. So even if you can take a person from 0% to 20%, that's a big change. So I think continuing to create the content the way the left wing has been producing content, monopoly rahi hai 70 सालों तक basically information के ऊपर. That monopoly has been completely shattered by the internet, by platforms like YouTube, Twitter, and all of that stuff. So now the goal is to create lots and lots of content, and at the same time create good content, polished content that can appeal to a large base of people, which is something that I've been trying to do on the show. And I get lots of messages, every month ki Sham, I used to think so and so, but I watched a few of your videos. I may agree with you, I may not agree with you, but at least I like the way you explained it. I understood what you're trying to say. Agree karo ya na karo, wo alag baat hai. To agar itna bhi ho jaye, if you can even change the minds of 10 people, yeah, that's a huge win for you. So incremental gains is what I'm talking about. That use the internet, produce content, use, you have use the powers of capitalism and the free market to create content that can appeal to a large number of people and keep making incremental gains.
Sham, now we can see a lot of Ravish Kumar memes on your show. I mean, you'll have to start watching his YouTube show, no? To analyze, to poke fun, to make memes. So looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to Ravish Kumar being like and share and subscribe, guys. Smash that like button. Smash
Guru Rashi ka kya hoga ab?
Yeah.
Like का बटन दबाएं, share
like का
और
बटन
subscribe
दबाएं.
भी करें. ओए मेरी भैया ये क्या हो गया?
नीचे comment section में हमें जरूर बताएं. Yeah, I'm looking forward to all of that.
All right, thank you, Sham. It's always so much fun to have you. It's always it's like we love recording with you, one of our favorite YouTubers. So.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Obviously, everybody, we don't need to say it, but of course, we wish that from 10 lakhs it goes to 20 lakhs. And the best part is the humor element that you have in your show. I mean, that's why you're growing, and that's why we're so happy to see right of the center, nationalistic, Indic, moderate YouTuber like you, who's going to influence so many people. And in the YouTube space, you're there, like how in the book space, there's Vikram Sampath Desai, and in the YouTube, just that you're more cooler. So that's
I appreciate that.
All right. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Or please like, share, and subscribe, and do let us know how you found Ravish Ki Duniya. And any Ravish fans, you can send in this video. Right. Bye-bye.
Bye.